lovely flag right here that's made to look old by the fabric that this person chose, and then added embellishments to make it look maybe as old as the Civil War.
I like that she chose different stars in the blue and white from the stars in the red and white part.
Yes, I think she did a lovely job. It even looks like it's undulating in the wind, which is accomplished by the batting and the stitching that she's chosen. This was quilted somewhere in the 1890s, and if you'll see, there are fabrics from, I would think, old clothing, because that was pretty common to do in that time frame, and they utilized everything. And then you lift this, feel it, it's really heavy. And cotton batting in that day and age was, you had to foof it like this and lay it out and pat it down, and then put the layers together and hold it in place with, in this case, this is wool yarn.
And I noticed that most of the embellishment here, well, it's all fabric or thread. There's no metal or anything like we might see nowadays.
Right, right. Wool, and I love the fact that they included this. Feels like velvet, but it's heavier than this. It might have come from a coat. Like I said, they utilized every scrap that they possibly could, and then held it together with all the stitching. My grandmother made some of these. I bet your grandmother did too.
Probably.
Isn't this lovely? The lady that made this took all kinds of beige fabrics and beige and white lace, and started with a background that was made up with all these blocks, and then she embroidered on top of it. And if that wasn't enough, then she went back and did more embroidery. This is absolutely amazing how many different products she used in there, how many different techniques she used.
So this looks like this was already embroidered and she stuck it on, and so is that, but she made these little things.
Yes, this was a machine embroidery. And this is hand embroidery with French knots.
Oh, okay.
She even dyed thread to get the color she wanted, and so some of it, let me see if I could find some, like right here on these, these are cotton threads, the machine embroidery again, and then purchased items as well, and ribbon.
And it really suits the name Cafe au Lait.
Yeah.
With the color theme.
Yes. Isn't that just cute? Sometimes when we're making a quilt, we end up with a block or two left over, or every once in a while I end up with one that is not quite the right size, or maybe it's not quite square, so I throw it aside in a box and then go back, and I bet that's where some of these ideas came from, to get a start on and then work with it. Every page looks like it's got
different
texture.
embellishments, yeah.
Lots of texture. Halloween. Look at that kitty cat.
What's it made from?
It's made from a plastic yarn.
Because it looks like fur.
It does. A shiny black cat. And I would guess that it's made with a yarn that you can buy for crafting. I bet it's a little too rough to wear, knit a sweater to wear. But look at the cute little ghosts made out of, looks like silk organza. And there's,
and then we have a spider there in the web.
Oh, yes. And then over here we see the top with the gold lame.
Oh, yes.
And velvet, and there's the ridge. Look at this. This just reminds me of my grandmother. She was always crocheting or making pillows or making quilts. She never branched out into any of these other bigger things, but she would make pillows like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be the color she would choose,
Mm-hmm.
dusty rose. You know, it's so subtle you almost don't see it. It looks like yarn and embroidery thread and embroidery stitches from the machine and beads on a piece of wool.
Looks old.
1930s dancing girls.
All the dresses are different fabric sewn on top.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
The pattern's drawn on the block, and then the little pieces are cut out and laid on top. And this is called a blanket stitch that's done around the edge of there.
Mm-hmm.
It was really quite popular back in the 1930s when this was made. I'll point out that some of the pieces, see that white one that's just about 4x4?
Mm-hmm.
That was a little lighter weight fabric, and so it's losing some of its,
Integrity.
yes, that's the right word.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these, they used sugar sacks and feed sacks, came in with printed patterns, and so they would utilize those to make the quilts with, or they make clothing with them too. But it's fun to find those fabrics because they are, once you have seen a few, you recognize them. And if you get an opportunity like me, if I get an opportunity, I'm buying because they make a perfect fabric to mend an old quilt. So if I were going to mend this quilt, I would look for a fabric that would be in that age, and that would be a flour sack, a sugar sack, that sort of thing. And then there's lots of books that say what to do and what not to do, but I tend to applicate the new fabric over top of the old and leave the old one right in there. But that's the way I like to do it. This is really unique. Pink fuchsia color. I would bet that she hand dyed some of that. It looks like in here.
And so this is metal?
Yes, it is. And she has bent it to the shape she wants and then stitched it down. And I bet it's hand stitched. Sometimes you can machine stitch, but with that many corners, I bet she hand stitched it. Well, we know that this is hand embroidery and these are couched down. And I love the fact that she's included so many different fibers.
These have beautiful colors also.
Yes, and there's a lot of couching here, and this is machine couching. You can tell that by looking really close and see how uniform the stitches are. Just tiny little, almost cross hatches, and then follow the pattern. And this yarn had little slubs in it. This one is a velvet type of.
Oh, so she used different threads for her embellishment?
Yes, they're and this is a rayon. And then it gets lighter as it goes on. Takes a fair amount of planning to do that.
I like this quilt because the balloons pop out at you. Makes them look very happy.
Yes, they're all so symmetrical. I'm amazed at how each one is so nice and round. And they're stuffed that makes them stand out a little bit more. This pattern is an old one from the 1930s, but it just looks like something that's on the market today, I think, don't you? It's beautifully quilted with an all-over pattern. They sometimes refer to this type of quilting as penny rug style. I'm not sure where the term came from, but it's done with wool. And so if you look close, you'll see that the base is cotton, and then all of these pieces look like they're felted wool, and they're so beautifully done. And then embroidered on top of each design.
Yeah.
And
There's lots of different textures here.
yes,
And
yes,
beads there.
yes. I think it's so beautifully done. It was machine quilted, but look at all the work in that. Isn't that just so cute? Look at these little the chefs.
The happy chefs.
Yes, yes. It's machine quilted. I think the artist quilted it herself. Some people elect to do their own quilting. If it's not too big, that's fairly easy to do. But others send them out, like we talked about this.
So what's the embellishment here on this quilt?
The hand embroidery in each of these little chefs, and then this is hand appliqued here, so you can see that the layers of fabric gives it a little more depth when you do that. It's so cute. And you can almost take any quilt design and make panels out of it by dividing it up into thirds or fourths. Most people go for thirds. What's unusual about this quilt is the added flowers. Aren't they beautiful? And look at these hand-embroidered birds. Oh my goodness, they're gorgeous.
And this is fun, the little door to the
Oh,
birdhouse.
yes. I missed that. I'm glad you pointed it out. Oh, look at the picnic basket. There's a little napkin coming out. The birds are wonderful.
Lots of different textures because there's that embellishment and, as you say, the flowers and
Yeah.
layers of fabric.
This is mostly free motion quilting, which means that you are not using the machine to feed the fabric through the feed dogs. It means that you have a free movement of the fabric while you're working on it, so you can move it left or right or up or down or make little circles like this. But she's also layered lace and yarn and, oh gosh,
Yeah, what is that?
is that? That is a type of free motion work that you do with a wash away product that comes on rolls or in sheets. Just stitch it every direction, and she's gone round and round and back and forth until it's stitched solid, and then you rinse that out. It's made out of rice, and it rinses right out. And so feel it right here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I thought that was very clever because it really shows the idea of spray
Yes,
at the bottom.
yes. And these, I know that she hand beaded these, and they are
Wow.
champagne bottle caps.
Oh,
Isn't
that's
that
clever.
Isn't that amazing?
yeah. Yeah, there's mom.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And she collected those when she was traveling through Europe a few years back. That is just the happiest little quilt, isn't it?
Now those big buttons, are they made specifically for quilting?
I would guess they are. The thing about them is they are so big that it takes something that big to put it on. But it's perfect for what she's got there.
And she has that watch there.
Yes, yes.
Here.
We can put almost anything on a quilt.
So what is all this? It seems like it's all stuck together.
It is, it is. It looks like it's ironed on to a surface that when you touch it with the iron, it forms a glue, and so it will stick. Use a fusible on the bottom, and then on top of that, you use a pressing sheet. And they are made of Teflon, and so it sticks to the quilt and not to the iron.
Okay. And it has little shiny things in it.
Yes, little sequins.
And then this is beaded work, is it?
Yes, it is. And this is lots of different little fabric pieces. And if you touch it on the edge, you can feel that there's netting over top of all of it.
Okay.
And then stitched it down. Look how the eye is accented.
Mm-hmm.
Look at these little miniature quilts.
Those are cute. And the chain that hangs on.
Yes, isn't that great?
So there's a lot of metal on this one. Metal, wood.
Look here, there's little rings.
Wow. A lot of embellishment.
These are yo-yos. That's what we always call them. I think they have a new name for them now. Yo-yos. One of my friends used to say, when quilters go to hell, they spend the rest of eternity making yo-yos. But these little quilts are just made miniaturized. It's a whole quilt, only it's only this big. Isn't that cool? And look at these tiny little pieces there. This is complicated, time-consuming, and it's quilted, very nicely done. Lots and lots of beads.
Yeah.
The whole thing. Isn't that great? 9 patches, a pattern. We'll probably run into one on a little further down, but it just means there's 3 up and 3 down.
Okay.
A whole 9.
I had to look to catch that this was different from this. So that makes
yes.
it-
Isn't that amazing? It's applique, cut out, little tiny pieces, laid on top of each other,
Wow.
and applique down.
Wow.
So there's a lot of work in that with scissors and thread and patience.
And then the occasional little metal piece and bead.
Yeah. And look at the brickwork on the side of the house even. Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
And the tree.
Well, this one's a little disconcerting because it's upside down here.
You always have the top, when you have it on, when you're laying under it.
Oh.
The top is the right direction. This is all applique, probably some hand applique, some machine applique, but there's lots and lots of different pieces of fabric in there. Look at all the pieces that are different from the one next to it. Takes a huge stash of fabric to select from to do this. And then satin clouds.
And all sorts of embellishment like the
Yes, aren't they
animals,
cute?
sequins,
Yeah.
the little wooden figures up there.
Oh, they are.
Snowmen, all sorts of different things.
So it says 4 seasons. So we have fall over here with the
Autumn colors.
And then that's almost like Santa's village up there. Something that can be handed down from one person to the next generation. It's a wonderful club. I think this was like a satin doily that was trimmed up and utilized to, if we stand back a little bit, we can see how it stands out, accents what's next to it. There's lots of stitching, and I noticed that each of these little vignettes, the people are outlined and the flowers are outlined.
I like the fact that it has rickrack, just because I like the word rickrack. And I haven't seen it for a long time.
Yes, I've heard it's coming back. Gold is kind of the accent color. It's either make bias tape.
And then this is behind the
Yes, yes.
Gold is behind her.
Yeah. This is gold thread, but these are accents. Look at the different cars, and she's added.
Oh yes, different embellishment for the different
Yes.
wheels.
And look, here's the little moose.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't this cute?
And this is interesting, this, whatever this is. What is this?
That's a type of yarn.
Okay.
The cars are so adorable. And I think this comes from a pattern, unlike the one we just talked about. I think she made that one up.
Mm-hmm.
This one I think was a pattern. So when you start a quilting, you have lots of options. Do you want to make up your own design? Do you want to find a design and choose your own fabrics and your own colors? You want to copy what the pattern or book said?
Now, why do you think this was a pattern when you look at it?
I think I've seen it someplace.
Okay. So people would choose their own fabric and embellishment?
They can, yes, or they could follow the pattern.
Okay.
I think it's a separate pattern that you can buy in a quilt store. This has lace and then the fabric in the vest is something you don't often see in a quilt.
Oh, yeah.
And
Kind of leather-like.
Yeah, it is. I'm sure it's a washable because we kind of want it to be washable in the quilt. The idea for these is such a collage. It's like inventing your whole process. You choose the size and the colors and what you're going to put into it. By that I mean, do you add eyelash yarn? Do you add seashells? Do you add highlights and shadows? And that's really amplified by that particular quilt. I know that she dyed the fabric and then stitched it solid for that fish. Fish was placed on the background and applique down, and then all the other things were added on to give it that 3D effect.
How do you put like the shells on? How do you make them stick?
Well, if you can see right there, this one is thread stitched on. Others you can buy shells that have a little hole in them.
Oh, okay.
Or if you're ambitious, you can drill your own holes with a little hand drill. I'm not sure I'm up to that, but see the starfish is thread stitched down.
Yeah. Well, that's fun. All those different textures.
Yes, yes. And like I said, there's hand dyed, but see the blue is actually another type of fiber that's been hand dyed to get that kind of iridescent metallic look. And it's going to be soft, like soft yarn.
Yeah. This one is saying, touch me.
Oh, that is just so fun to touch, isn't it? This is little triangles that have been foam, that have been covered with fabric. Look how well they're covered. I mean, they'll seem fun to look at and so fun to touch.
And there's beads here that add a little bit different embellishment.
Yes. This is pleating and then stuffed with some probably wool batting would give it that much softness to it. And then there are leaves that are made separately and appliqued on. Lots of touch me there. Isn't that wonderful?
This one has lots of embellishment right here.
Coffee filter, plastic wrap, tea bag, driftwood, shells, tie back, plastic and metal. That's a message, and it just speaks to that message. This is the candy wrapper. Did you notice that?
Well, I noticed a little bit of the Diet Coke can.
Oh, yes, yes. I love it. gorgeous piece. I think it belongs to the White Bluffs Museum. Here at the museum, they have a huge collection of quilts.
I'm looking at the embellishments there, and I see mostly just thread. Is that what I see mostly?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And that's pretty common with something that's this old.
Okay.
It's mostly just thread. That's what they had available at the time. The bottom center, there's a silk ribbon that's made into a flower.
Okay, and then is that also silk ribbon in the center at the top?
Yes,
Okay.
because that was available fairly easily. They used it on clothing and on hats, and so sometimes there would be a little piece left over. They had an opportunity to go to the store and buy small pieces like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, remnants kind of.
Well, they could buy this much or this much.
Oh, okay.
They didn't. When I go to the store to buy ribbon, I buy yards because I just happen to like it a lot. But I'm sure our grandmothers didn't have that option.
Right. Yeah. What do you think the fronds are made of?
They're silk plants that have been disassembled and stitched on.
Oh, that's clever.
And then notice that their stems are wrapped.
Okay.
Notice how the background is pieced. And that's fairly common with something that you add that's as big as the fronds are. Or if you have a silhouette effect, you piece the background and then put the silhouettes in front of it.
So the daughter is a little girl who grows up to be a friend.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? Yeah. Now, that has quite a number of fibers that we don't always use in quilting. So there's a jute piece in there. That's a related product to burlap. And then it looks like this brown piece might be felted.
Okay.
And then the piece that looks like it's black or purple, that is probably the same thing. The top layer, I bet, is a hand dyed.
Oh, okay.
And then the beads follow the dye on the fabric. And then, of course, the wonderful little saying. I love the name. Did you read the name?
A horse with no name?
Isn't that wonderful? Yeah, and it's hand and machine applique with extra beads and buttons and other paraphernalia stitched on. It gives it some depth. This has everything you can think of. Grapes and fronds. These are, once again, purchased fronds. And then look at the different quilt blocks. Every place you look, there's a different quilt block.
So it's kind of visual texture as well as hand texture.
Yes. And then applique. Look at her wine glass is even clear. It's like a party.
Well, that has a lot of texture, or dimension. It has a lot of dimension.
Yes, it has. Even the baskets moves forward. That's a really unique binding. See how there's little eggs stuffed in the, I think there are little beads tucked in there to make them look like Easter eggs. And the bunny is stuffed. When you do that, there's a couple different ways, but you stitch it down, then open the backing and stuff the batting in so that it stands out.
So this one has different kinds of string.
I think it's chenille yarn, applique down, and then there's the pink one is a ribbon, and the yellow one looks like the light yellow looks like twine, and the bright yellow looks like maybe bias strips that you make. thread painting on cotton, but it doesn't say that it was hand painted. I thought perhaps it was hand painted to get the yellow in the center.
Mhm. So the embellishment is the kind of the bursts, the thread bursts?
Yes. It gives you the, and notice how it's quilted, pieced rather. It's to make the pansies stand out. And then the next one is a great little mountain scene. The tree is made from yarn that has lots of fluff to it.
Oh, okay.
And then stitch it down.
Okay.
And then the different directions of the shadows and the meadows and are all quilted different directions. Accent the shadows.